What is your why? Do you want dynamic growth? Do you feel stuck? It's time to fix your why.
Hi, I'm Billy Ryan, and this is the Fix Your Why podcast. Today, my guest is Terry Deneui, speaker, soon-to-be author, a doctorate and master's in nursing, and the founder of EVEXIAS Health Solutions. It's great to have you here today.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
So, Fix Your Why. You may not have a why that's broken. I think let's start with just a summary of your business. I find it fascinating, the world you're in.
Yeah. Well, there's two parts to what I do. I am a nurse practitioner and I have my doctorate, and I have two clinics in the DFW area. We serve several thousand patients. And our primary cornerstone of what we do is hormone optimization with primarily bioidentical hormone pellets, but we do other things as well. And then we have other aspects of that clinic that focuses on repair, regeneration with peptides and some other things. And so we really focus on that with our patients in wellness and disease prevention and getting to the root cause of issues. Big passion of ours is really identifying areas, maybe medications that patients have been on chronically that are causing other side effects that are preventing them to get to their why. But that's one part. And the other aspect of what we do is we have a training and marketing company for physicians and other practitioners across the country where we train them in what we do and what we've seen work so beautifully in our patients and our clinics.
That's great. Thank you. The Fix Your Why, I really focus in the book about integrating your business life with your personal life. And obviously health and fitness is a big issue for everybody. And as we talked, one of my challenges, because it's important to me, is reading through the noise that's out there. And, I love the fact that you're bringing something to the market that is teaching people to be less dependent on medicine, which again, I'm a huge fan of that. But it's so difficult to know whether what you're reading is really something that you should be following. So what would you recommend to people who have a similar challenge?
Wow. Well, it's a big answer. And, the first thing to really just remember is our bodies are really designed so perfectly to work perfectly for a long, long time. And there's things that we do to our bodies and things that happen to us that can impact and change the trajectory and cause disease. That could be physical stress, emotional stress, mental, stress, which we all have. But it can also be just lifestyle choices and lifestyle choices like, exercise, food, what we put in our bodies, on our bodies. So one of the big things to understand is even the word disease, when you break it down, means dis-ease. Your body is ill at ease, right? And it's not a normal state of being. And I think it's a mindset shift, number one, that people have to do is go, you know what? Being sick all the time and being on medications for something that has a root cause isn't normal. And I think that's a paradigm shift in the way we think in this country about health. I think I shared with you earlier, we're really a reactive sick care system and not really a healthcare system. So it's really challenging to get through the noise because so much of what we find online, I call it Dr. Google, patients a lot of times will consult Dr. Google before they consult us.
Dr. Google knows everything.
Well, if it's on the internet, it must be true. But remembering, there's a lot of bias out there. And so just paying attention to what you're reading and who wrote it, what's the intention, is there a bias around the information because there's a product or something that they're trying to steer you to? And then again, also understanding that there's a lot of misinformation out there regarding health and wellness and disease. And a lot of it has to do with, again, some of the bias from pharmaceutical industry. There's so many answers to that question, but how do you get through the noise? The first thing is to recognize that disease is not a normal state and it can be reversed, actually, in most cases. And that a lot of what you're reading, you're really going to have to sift through the noise and pay attention to your gut. I think we forget that our intuition is really powerful, especially when it comes to our health and talking to people and if it feels right. And I think so many people have given up that power and just want the almighty doctor to give them the answers and tell them which way to go and just personal responsibility. So I gave you a lot of answers.
No,
there.
It's good. And I think it's interesting. Years ago, we did think a doctor knew all, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't think too much about the choice of who our doctor was. We just,
Sure.
Our parents would take us to
Yeah.
the doctor. My parents, I lost both my parents this year, but we would often say medicine is more art than science.
Absolutely.
And it shouldn't be, right? I mean, you think science, you go to the doctor, they know, they know what to prescribe. So I really a two-part question for you on the education piece. Somewhere along your training and development, you chose the path less traveled.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're out there educating doctors and clinicians who may not share your vision for I don't want to call it alternative medicine, but an alternative treatment plan, let's say. Rather than be dependent on drugs, I want to take my disease and I want to become healthier.
Right.
So one, how did you pick the path? And is it challenging to educate your audience?
Why did I pick the path? So I was an emergency room practitioner part-time and I was a hospitalist part-time. And in the emergency room, so much fun. You've just can stabilize somebody, get them fixed, and get them on up to the floor, right? So they can be taken care of. So there's a lot of benefit. There was a lot of satisfaction, I think, in that. But I found myself really disenchanted when I was rounding on patients in the hospital as a hospitalist, and I just felt like all I was doing was prescribing the same meds, sending them home with the same cookie cutter. And it just didn't feel right. When I was talking about that intuition earlier, I just was like, I'm not helping my patients at all. I'm just part of the system. And I decided there had to be a better way. And so I just started going out and seeking education in different areas of integrated health, functional medicine. We're really more of an integrated mindset because, don't get me wrong, that there is a place for medication.
Sure.
I just fundamentally believe that we place too much power in chronic medications. Just take the statin industry. It's the most profitable drug in the history of medicines. Well, why not change lifestyle? Why not really look at, is cholesterol a bad thing? There's just so many things to that conversation. So the shift came because I didn't feel like I was doing good for my patients. I felt like there could be something better. I felt like I was missing a key piece of, how did you get here in the first place? Why are you here with your third heart attack or, your third, bout with, uncontrolled diabetes and things like that? These are all preventable diseases. So that's kind of the why. And then you had another part to that question.
Yeah. When on the education side,
right.
when you're again, I don't want to use the word preaching, but you're out educating doctors and clinicians who may, like you, be feeling a little dis-ease with
Correct.
the treatment plans that they've followed, or maybe historically medicine has followed. So they're great to have, right? They want to find something new. But maybe there are others that, think, hey, this just is the latest fad and I want to be a part of it, but they really don't get it.
Yeah, I used to spend a lot of time and energy trying to get people to understand. and get over their confirmation bias. And it's really challenging. Confirmation bias is really powerful. When you've learned it one way, it's just the way. But the practitioners, the doctors and nurse practitioners that are attracted to our model are very similar in that they feel like, God, there's got to be a better way. You know, I'm seeing 60 people a day and I have patients lined up every 10 minutes. And the art, you said the art of medicine previously. I had the benefit of working with two incredible doctors when I was in my 20s, and I was a receptionist, and then I moved on to be a medical assistant in that office. And they did things with their patients I haven't seen since. And it's radical stuff like talking to the patient, listening to the patient, touching. That's the art of medicine. Yes. There's only so much that you can get from a lab report or some sort of radiologic report, right? That's just very objective information, but you have to listen to the subjective. You have to listen to the things that they're not telling you and dig in a little bit more. And because of our current healthcare model and doctors having to see 50, 60 people a day to meet their overhead and even make a living, it's just not conducive to that. So the model that we teach our providers helps them transition out of that insurance-based rat race model, and into a model that they can do what they were trained to do, and that is really care for their patients. And a lot of practitioners integrate what we teach part-time initially, maybe do it 1 or 2 days a week, and then continue their other model until it starts to flip. But it is very challenging to get many practitioners just in the general public to get over their confirmation bias. But the way we do it is with clinical evidence and studies. We're not just teaching and talking about things that we think are great because they feel good. There's a lot of really good clinical data to back up what we do. So when I do trainings and teachings, I spend, and a couple of other doctors that teach with me, we spend the first day really unraveling confirmation bias so they can be present to learn what we're teaching. And so that's really the first thing we have to do. And doctors and clinicians are used to seeing evidence and data, and you can't argue with studies, right? Good, solid, clinical, sound studies. And so we start there. Now, patients, they're very easy to flip because they've always felt that what the treatment hasn't been right. I think that is just a very common thing when patients come to our office. Is like, I've been to 7 different doctors and you're the first person that's ever figured it out or listened, or they leave with hope because somebody has given them some answers to their depression, their whatever they've been dealing with that they haven't been able to get through and fix with conventional medicine.
That's great. I really love what you did, kind of shifting that sense of art in the practice, and really it's about making a connection.
That's right.
With your patient.
Yep.
We're definitely going to have to schedule another time to talk, because I'm sure we're going to have some great response from the messages that you've shared. Yeah. Thank you for taking the time today, and look forward to speaking again.
Awesome.
All right.
Appreciate
Terry.
it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us today on the Fix Your Why podcast. As I said, I think there's going to be a lot of response from today's episode. Thank you for joining. Have a great day.